What brings you alive? Where do you spend your time and money?
Right.
What we take our gifts and skills for granted, D. We really do, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that's nothing. We don't realize that actually not everyone can do X, Y, Z that you just do so effortlessly. You know what I mean? And the universe will give us, God or universe will give
Mhm.
us, things like little nudges,
Mhm.
and little wins. Take
Little
this way,
sideways.
take this
Yeah.
path, right? Just like
Mhm.
a little
Right.
tap on the shoulder. And
Right.
so, yeah, it was just,
Um,
preparing yourself just to take that leap of faith and
mhm.
believe in your dreams.
Thank you for joining us today. We're excited you're here to meet the author of today's book. Welcome to Digital Book Nooks, Meet the Author Show, where you can discover your next great book. With your host, D.G. Thomas. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's Meet the Author Show. Have you ever thought about your purpose of your life, or do you ever think about that you have a story that you have inside of you that you would love to tell? Well, you may be inspired today to tell your story after you hear our guest author, who has developed a best-selling anthology of books co-written by multiple other authors telling their inspiring stories. I'm excited to introduce you today to John Spender, who is here to discuss his book, Dis- Discover Your Purpose, A Journey of Riches, 13 Inspirational Stories for Living a Meaningful Life. John Spender is a 34-time international best-selling co-author who didn't learn how to read and write at a basic level until he was 10 years old. He has since traveled to more than 60 countries, territories, and started many businesses, leading him to create a best-selling book series, A Journey of Riches. He is an award-winning international speaker and movie maker. John worked as an international NLP trainer and coached thousands of people from various backgrounds through many challenges. From the borderline homeless to wealthy individuals, he has helped many people to connect with their truth to create a life on their terms. John's search for answers to living a fulfilling life has taken him to work with Native American Indians in the hills of San Diego, to the forests of Madagascar, swimming with humpback whales in Tonga, exploring the Okavango Delta of Botswana, and climbing the Great Wall of China. He's traveled from Chile to Slovakia, Hungary, to the Solomon Islands, the mountains of Italy, and the streets of Mexico. Everywhere his journey has taken him, John has discovered a hunger among people to find a new way to live, with a yearning for freedom of expression. His belief that everyone has a book in them was born. He is now a writing coach, having worked with over 300 authors from 40 countries for a Journey of Riches series. Motion Media International has published 44 nonfiction titles to date. And John has also co written and produced a movie documentary, Adversity, starring Jack Canfield, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and Dr. DeMartini, and many more. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to John. Hey, John, how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, D. Yeah,
Oh,
thanks for
great.
having me.
It's so exciting to have you here today. And reading that bio, I'm going to tell you that you've been to a lot of places. That is so interesting. And what's really interesting is that regardless of where you've been, how you found this yearning in people to just have more out of life, I think is what a lot of people are searching for. And so I really want to talk to you today about this series you've written, this A Journey of Riches. And so let's just kind of get into it. I saw in your book that a lot of readers describe the stories as being empowering and inspiring, just among a few things that they use to describe this multi author book series. So, can you tell us about the concept of it?
Yeah, basically, it's each author writes 3,000 to 5,000 words, and about a particular theme. So each book has a different theme. So we have books about change, challenge, choice, motivation, inspiration, transformation, love, gratitude, and just all personal development topics. And they're also like in a memoir style. So each author shares their own experience and journey in relation to the theme, and then how the different steps and things that they did that the reader could also action as well. And there's very many different styles of writing and expression, and there's something in there for everyone. It's the type of book that you can just sort of open up to any page and get your daily dose of inspiration.
Like that. What inspired you to write this book series?
That's a good question. I had a goal of writing a book. I actually didn't learn how to read and write at a basic level till I was 10. And I was considered learning disabled and all the rest of it, and kind of just fell through the cracks, and was a master class clown. Like, I was very good at getting kicked out of classes, and anytime I got my turn to read, I would muck up, do something wrong, and get into trouble. And it wasn't until my second grade teacher. I used to like writing, and I used to take my writing to her, and it was a dog's breakfast. I was the only one who could understand it, but my first written piece was Sausage Man from Outer Space. Now, that was as a 9-year-old, and she called my mum to school, and then I got tutoring and learnt the basics of the English language. And then I just fell in love with reading, and I had a goal of writing my first book back in 2010, and I did a Hay House writing workshop. So it was all Hay House people, all Hay House authors, and there was a cruise ship going around the Caribbean, and they had various different workshops. And one of the workshops was a writing workshop. Had Cheryl Richardson, Reed Tracy, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and it was an amazing experience. And I told my friend before I left, you know what, I'm going to write this book in like 2 weeks. Anyway, and she's like, oh, I don't know about that. And I came back to where I was living in Bondi in Sydney at the time, and it was so challenging. You know what, Dee? Like, all these different books came up, and I didn't write the first. The first manuscript I did, I actually spoke it. So I got myself a dictaphone, and I actually spoke it, and I finished that. It was January 2012, and I went to a Toastmasters speaking contest, and I came back home, and I walked up the stairs, and I was like, shoot, I've left the dictaphone in my pickup. I'll go down and get it in the morning. And so I went back the next morning, and there was glass on the road.
No.
Yeah, and the guy had taken everything.
No.
Yeah. And so that was my first experience with writing.
Oh.
Oh, no. Yeah. And then I thought, well, you know what? I had a flourishing coaching practice at the time, and all geared around NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And so I just sort of changed the style of the book. The first one was more of a memoir style, and this was more kind of like of an expertise how-to with some personal stories and action steps and things. And my background was actually in landscaping, and I sold that business back in 2010 and transitioned into coaching and speaking. And I was new to computers, and so I had written it, and I didn't save it properly one afternoon, and I actually had 2 chapters to go, and the computer crashed. I didn't save the file, so I lost the manuscript. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm not meant to write this
Oh,
book.
talk about adversity. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And I simultaneously have been trying out for different international training companies to be a trainer of NLP. And I finally got accepted for a US company. And they were just setting up a Southeast Asia branch in Bali, in Ubud, and running trainings in Singapore and Vietnam and Malaysia. And so I moved over to Bali. I completely forgot about, in January 2013, I moved to Bali. And once that contract finished, the contract was for 6 months. I finished that contract and I went back to my coaching practice. But I moved it online. I hired a mentor and she helped me move it online. And she said, well, rather than we do this launch for the new coaching program, it just be a solo coaching program, why don't we actually have a book, multiple author book series, a part of it, and then the clients can actually share their stories. And that's how it got started. And so that was back, July 2013. And then we launched the first book in 2015, so November.
That's amazing. You did. You met a lot of challenges to get there, but it seemed to get you in the right direction. So I think sometimes that adversity comes for a reason to kind of steer us in the direction we need to go. You don't see it during the time, but in the aftermath, I think sometimes you can kind of see the good that comes out of it.
Yeah, and you actually have to become a stronger person as you move through that adversity. I think what happens is people allow that to stop them and get in the way rather than something that, it's almost like you're playing a video game. As you're going along, different tools and weapons or whatever become available to you, and you strengthen your character. And so it strengthened my character so I could be the person that was capable of publishing a book and getting my message out there and having some success in that area. So yeah, I feel adversity is for us, not against us. But as you said, when we're going through it, right, it feels like it's against me. Oh my God, the sky's falling down. The world doesn't want me to do this. You know what I mean? But it's like, no, it's helping you upskill. It's helping you strengthen your character.
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your authors, the contributors to the book, and then you said that there were different titles and topics for each one. So how do you select the contributors for the book, and like what topics you decide to compile everything under?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I had been saturated in personal development. I did in 2010. I just did every weekend I was in a seminar. And so I met a lot of people that were, wanting to have more in life and to create something different, and just were super pumped by personal development and human potential. And so I just had a resource of people, and I just kept asking. After I'd done the first book, I self-published it. And it was so stressful. I thought I'd never do another one again. And but people kept asking me. I would post on social media or an email and start to develop a bit of a readership and a following. And so it was basically just started out as just friends and colleagues that I met along my journey. And and now we get people writing to us and recommending their friends, and we get authors coming back and contributing again and again. And so I just trust my vibes, and it's just very intuitive. I don't have a set strategy, so to speak. And if I feel someone I think a lot of people these days want to share and want to write a book, but maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they it's whatever. It can be. It's a lot more daunting to actually then, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a book, 30, 40,000 words, than to write a chapter that's 3,000 to 5,000 words, And so I think it's an easy win for authors, and to, first become a first-time author, get a feel for everything. And we have a Facebook group and we walk everyone. It's very collaborative, so we choose the cover together and tagline and get everyone's feedback and opinion, and so make it as collaborative as possible. And then what was the second part of the question?
The second was about topics, like how do you decide on the topics?
Yeah, so mostly they just come to me. So last year I was visiting family in country Victoria. It's a state in Australia, and I was just walking along. There's a river there called the Murray River, and I was listening to Oprah Winfrey, and she was on this a YouTube channel. It was like a clip or an interview that she did, and it's like she was talking about you got to turn your challenges, like your wounds, into gold, into nuggets of gold, and I was like, oh, okay, that'd be just something clicked. Oh, what about transform your wounds into wisdom? And then that was a theme for a book. So just from everyday living, I was talking to another friend and friends as well, and also some authors I've collaborated with during the pandemic. A Facebook friend, she recommended we do gratitude in the midst of a pandemic, and it was kind of a little bit too niche. And so we just generalized and just made it the attitude of gratitude. And so, yeah, that's how we come up with the different themes. So.
Okay. That sounds great. So that's a lot of collaboration. I love collaboration, but as you know, bringing people together, thoughts together, everything together, like what type of a time, if there's a such thing as typical timeline, what type of typical timeline from this conception to publication?
Yeah, anywhere from 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, 11 myself. I contribute to each book. So myself and 10 to 11 other authors, sometimes 12. You know, in Discover Your Purpose, there's 12 other authors, and it's I've met some incredible, just got to know some incredible people as well. You know, because people, I might meet them at an event or something like that, or do a personal development program, or however I've met them. But through like the written word, you get to experience another side to them, and they get to go through the therapeutic experience of, you know, sharing their story. You know, memoir is very personal. It's also a growing genre, and you know, they get to have that win and that therapeutic experience, and then the reader gets to experience that as well. And then all the proceeds, I don't think I mentioned this, but all the proceeds from Amazon actually go to charity. And so we've been going to a children's home in Jules, it's called Jewel Children's Home, and it's in the northeast, a remote area of Bali. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned a Facebook group for the writers. Is there any other type of support that you give them, especially those that are new to the whole publishing?
Yeah. So we have the group, and we share a lot of things in the group, so everyone gets to see it. Then I give each author a 30-minute call, and we go through ways of brainstorming and planning their chapter, at least having an outline. I know a lot of people like to write in the flow. I have a bit of a both, like structured and flow. I find the combination works really well. We also have a writing starter pack, and we have a breakthrough, your book breakthrough writing group on Facebook as well. And so that's a nice, tight little family of writers. And I basically, you know, we share quotes, live videos, and so on and so forth each week. So.
That's amazing, especially when you're new, but this is something you want to do, but you don't have to go into writing alone, but to have that support and that guidance. That's really an amazing experience, I think, especially for a first-time author, or even if you've been writing for a while, but you know, it's kind of a lonely experience when you write on your own. Have a group to bounce ideas off of and to talk and get feedback from. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the book. All right.
Okay.
Let's get into this latest book.
Okay.
You have the Discover Your Purpose, right?
Yeah.
So there are 13 authors, inspiring authors. I saw a couple of titles that were relatable to me. Let's see, Car Payments and Clock Watching. And
that's great. That's a great chapter.
Yeah, or A Modern Woman's Tale to Finding Freedom, Liberation, and Purpose. So tell me, what will readers find different about this most recent release than from other books?
Uh, oh, it's different in that you have different authors. Some authors have contributed to other books, but it's very eclectic. So you get a very I like the various different perspectives around the one thing, because there's more than one way to go about something, and there's if you I remember it was a something that really helped me with my perspective on my journey was Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, where in his he was a university professor and somewhere here in the US, and he had a class of students and he showed this image, and half the class, like depending on what side of the room you're on, you would see a young attractive woman, or if you're on the other side, you would see an elderly lady. I don't know if you've seen the image.
I have, yes.
Yeah, and so both are right. You know what I mean? Just
Right.
depends on where you're at, where you're sitting. And I think it's the same with this book and this series. Is that depending on where you're at in life and what you're going through, they'll be attractive for you because it's just that eclectic. Relating to the thing. If you're someone that's not 100% sure on your mission, I find like your purpose can change a little bit and expand. I'm sure you've found that as well, and you kind of need to shift and change with it, and take some chances and get outside your comfort zone. And I feel all of us as we're born for something greater, and I feel that scares us to bits more than staying the same. You know what I mean? It's easy to stay the same, stay in the nine to five grind, but it's much harder to actually move towards your life. What really sets you alive, and that's one of the reasons. The idea for this particular book is because so many different times it's taken me ages just to make that pivot. I know people like fast results, let's get it done now, da, da, da. That hasn't been my life, actually. I know, my bio, and I've done a lot of things, but that's over a long period of time of, consistently showing up, having coaches and whatnot. But I have failed so often and hesitated so much. I mean, but that's the beauty of the world that we live in. We get 1,000 second chances, and just sort of show up for yourself. So readers can expect an eclectic range of insights, writing styles that makes things interesting. It's like an emotional roller coaster ride, all about discovering your purpose. And so I'm excited for readers. We've already had some good feedback and things on Amazon.
Oh, that's great. So, speaking of things just kind of changing and not always being the way you expected, were there any twists or realizations as you've been going along your journey to discover your purpose?
Oh, so many, yes. Well, where to start? Well, I mean, for the writing journey, which I already shared with you, the book, it was such a journey to get to that. Having my like landscaping was my purpose for a period of time, but then I was going, it was my own business, and I was just feeling like dead inside. I was just going through the motions, and I knew that there was just something else, and and it's like the universe gives you breadcrumbs, or God gives you breadcrumbs, whatever your faith is, and it's our responsibility to follow those breadcrumbs and to move in that direction. And so I just started doing some research online, and then I found this seminar company. This was when I was living in Australia, so this was back in like 2010, beginning of 2010, and I went to this seminar. It was in February 10th. And I'll never forget that day. And I went to this seminar, and I heard this speaker, and it was just so life-changing. And I share this in my chapter in the latest book as well. And I was like, wow, like part of me wanted to actually walk out because I was just so nervous, and I knew it was going to take me so out of my comfort zone. And it's almost like the speaker was speaking directly to me. I'm sure you probably experienced that.
Yes.
And I was just like, wow, like, and I had to stay, and I joined up for his program, and it was and that was a whole nother a huge leap of faith financially. I am a business owner. However, it was like 40K. That was Australian dollars. That's probably around about 20 odd K, 25K US, which is a big chunk. It was a year-long program, and I'm so glad that I did. I got so many different tools and strategies. And then I volunteered my time at Mission Australia, and that helped me develop the skill because I was teaching what I was learning in the program to people that were like borderline homeless in crisis situations, medicated to the eyeballs and all different types of, drugs, and helping them wean off it, or and just take their life back, and to live, to believe in themselves, and to dream again. And that was a very transformative experience for me as well. And taking with the tools of transformation and NLP, having someone like a homeless person, they came into the center and took them through a process, and just to get them to feel love, and just unconditional love, and just the tears streaming down their face was, I was like, wow, I just, and a little bit of that magic, that essence comes, back to you as well. And so I got to experience that and that love. So yeah, and then I built my business around that, and then I had, it's just, there's always little valleys and things, but everything's on the way, not in the way. If you have a vision and a clear intention, for the film, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here in the US now in Tennessee, is the movie documentary Adversity. And I was interviewing Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he was saying that in today's age there is an intention deficit disorder. So people going around without having a clear intention, on not knowing of why they're doing what they're doing.
So not attention, but intention. So people don't do things intentionally.
Yeah.
They're just kind of going through the motions and not really without purpose, without any type of end goal, intention, just, I guess, trying to figure out where it's going to lead them to, huh? I've never heard of it that way. I've heard of attention.
Yeah. Intention deficit disorder. And I don't know if you've heard him speak, but he just, he vibes. He vibes. Yeah, he vibes. He's got big energy. And
oh, wow.
So having clear intentions. Why are you doing what you're doing? And
right.
What brings you alive? Where do you spend your time and money? We take our gifts and skills for granted, Dee. We really do. And it's like, oh, that's nothing. We don't realize that actually not everyone can do X, Y, Z that you just do so effortlessly. You know what I mean? And the universe will give us, God or universe will give us, things like little nudges, and little wins. Take this way, take this path, right? It's like a little tap on the shoulder. And it was just, preparing yourself just to take that leap of faith and believe in your dreams.
Well, I think you're right. Like a lot of times it takes someone else to tell you what you take for granted that's special inside of you for you to be able to see it that way. Because we're on autopilot and we just do, and you just assume other people, well, it's not a big deal. Everybody's doing that, but it really does take somebody else to kind of point that out to you and for you to take a moment to really step back and think about it. I think to really kind of make you kind of open up ideas if you're open to that, and
True.
And I think you really hit something about being in your comfort zone. So like it's really difficult, I think, to move out of that comfort zone to move towards what your purpose is, and I think sometimes that gets in the way of you even really being able to see it. So what advice would you have for readers that are seeking to find their purpose or navigate their journey of self-discovery?
It's just you just get clear on what is it that you enjoy. What brings you alive, what opens your spirit and allows it to soar. do more of that. And then it's just finding a way to monetize that. And I feel like in this day and age, there's never been a better time than to live your purpose, to get your message out there, to live your love, and, as you don't have to, I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King said, you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step and then the next step. And so that's divine wisdom that lives on and on. And so I feel that there's, we really do stand on the shoulders of giants that, the forefathers that have lived before us, and their wisdom lives on. And so it's just following that wisdom and being open to it, as you said before. You need to have that mind that's open to everything and closed to nothing. And that can be challenging to do because, we get attached to our model of the world. And, it's just rather than just go like that and try and change, it's almost impossible to do that. It's like, just start with a little pinky, just start with a little pinky, and see how that feels. It's almost like, how do you cross your arms? If you could just cross your arms for me, Dee, how do you normally?
Kind of like this, if you can see it.
Yeah, and which one do you have, left over right or right over left?
Right over left, I think. Right over left.
Okay.
Or is it left over? Or is it left over right? They look right across from each other.
Well, I've got left. Right. I've got left over right.
Okay, I've got right over left.
Okay, so now how about you just change that? So you put your left over the right, and I'll put my right over the left.
Okay.
And how does that feel? Feels a bit different?
It does feel awkward now that you mention it.
Yeah. And just leave that and just see how it feels. Okay. And then just notice that, it's really awkward in the beginning.
Yeah.
But notice that it actually starts to become like just a bit natural.
Yeah. The longer I just sit like this and I get used to it. Okay.
And that's like making a shift and moving direction towards this, moving into your purpose and discovering your purpose. It feels like, maybe brushing your teeth with your left hand a little bit for the first time. So, it's going to feel a bit awkward the first time, but then you get used to it. Yeah. So I feel like there's little things. Yeah, there's little things that we can do that prepare our mindset. So I imagine that you would drive the same way to work, the exact same streets and things like that. Well, I would challenge you, rather than actually maybe change one street. So rather than going maybe down the way to your house, maybe changing around and drive up the other way, and just switch it up a little bit and notice just the change. And it helps us get used to making changes and getting comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that's one of the things that travel's done for me as well, because you're out of your element. You need to acclimate, find places. I've just been in Nashville for a week now, and I've found a really cool cafe. And you just find places that's kind of like, these are my people, you know what I mean? Like, this is my tribe. And you just, and the more you do that, and you put yourself in new situations and into the unknown, then the more familiar it comes and you acclimate a lot quicker. And so I think there's just little baby steps that we can do. And just doing little things that can sort of help us, and taking it step by step rather than, having to be one big leap.
Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah. And I'm going to do that one step at a time.
There you go.
One little baby step at a time. I don't know about the routes. Gas prices are pretty high.
Well, it may be quicker.
It might be. You're right. It might be. I may have been going the long way and didn't even realize.
There you go. There you go.
But you're right. You're right. You just need to kind of make those small shifts and changes so that you can kind of get used to doing that. And maybe, I guess, eventually you can move into the bigger stuff. But your work has been very impactful. It sounds like not only to the writers, then also there's the charitable giving of the proceeds of the book. But then as I speak with you, just that advice about how to bring about change, I think is amazing as well. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today. And I really appreciate you being a guest. And I'm hoping our listeners and our viewers are gain as much from this conversation as I have. And So let me show your book again. I want everybody to see it. Is A Journey of Riches, Discover Your Purpose. And you can go to ajourneyofriches.com and see the whole collection of books on there as well. So I want to thank you for being here. Thank you so much, and good luck with the film. I will be looking for it because I want to
Awesome.
see. I've
Yeah, great.
You've mentioned so many names today that I follow on YouTube, like Dr. Michael Beckwith, and I listen to old videos of Dr. Wayne Dyer, and so I am really Jack Canfield. So I'm interested in seeing, the film as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can't wait to wrap it up. We're going to have a few beta versions ready by the end of the year and then go straight into a launch. So, yeah, I'll let you know. And so I'm sure we'll chat again.
All right. And thank you, everybody, for coming to the show today. You can read the rest of John Spender's interview today on the Digital Book Nook blog to take a look at more of this interesting story and the development of the book series. Thanks again for coming, and have a great day.